It was a regular Tuesday evening, the kind of quiet evening Alex Parker had grown to enjoy. After a long day of classes, he was looking forward to a peaceful night, and he made a sandwich, plopped down on his couch, and switched on the TV. The world outside his small apartment felt like it belonged to someone else. Busy people, crowded streets, and 1,000 distractions. But for Alex, his little world of books, snacks, and Netflix was just perfect. Suddenly, a knock at the door broke the calm. Who could that be? Alex muttered, glancing at his phone. It was already past 8 p.m. He wasn't expecting anyone, and his roommates were out. With a sigh, he stood up, straightened his shirt, and made his way to the door. He opened it, half expecting it to be a delivery or a neighbor. But standing there was something Alex wasn't prepared for: a woman, or at least she looked somewhat like one. Her skin was an unusual shade of blue, almost glowing under the apartment's dim hallway light. She had large, almond-shaped eyes that shimmered with an almost otherworldly light. And her hair, if you could call it that, was silver, messy, and seemed to float around her head as if she was caught in a constant breeze. She was wearing what looked like a torn, futuristic jumpsuit that barely covered her limbs, and there was a strange, sticky substance on her arms and legs. She looked like she hadn't seen a shower in days. "Can I help you?" Alex asked, trying not to stare too much. He didn't know if she was some kind of performer or part of a strange social experiment, but he wasn't about to get caught up in something weird. The woman blinked at him, her alien eyes studying his face. She then looked down at her feet, then back up at him. "Hello, human. I'm Zara," she said, her voice oddly melodic, but with a heavy accent. I need to shower. I only have $3. Please, let me use your shower." Alex stood frozen for a moment. His brain wasn't quite catching up with what he was hearing. Shower? Did she just ask to shower in his apartment? And what did she mean by $3? His mind raced for an explanation, but nothing made sense. Wait, what? He blurted out, still not fully processing the situation. Zara took a step forward, ignoring his confusion. She reached into a small, pouch-like bag hanging from her waist and pulled out a tiny metal coin, no bigger than a bottle cap. She extended it to him. "This is all I have. $3. I beg you. I have nowhere to go." Alex stared at the coin for a moment. It definitely wasn't anything he'd ever seen before. It looked like metal, but there were strange symbols etched into its symbols that seemed to shimmer as if they were alive. He didn't know what to make of this. Was this a prank? Maybe some weird college social experiment where they dressed someone up to see how far they could push a stranger? He looked at her again. The way she was standing, the way she looked so exhausted and embarrassed, made him feel uncomfortable, almost like he was being cruel for even thinking about turning her away. But then he remembered. He couldn't just ignore someone in need, could he? "All right," Alex said, opening the door wider, still unsure of what was happening, but also not wanting to turn away someone who clearly needed help. "You can use the shower. But, you need to tell me what's going on. Like, why are you asking a complete stranger for help?" Zara gave him a grateful smile, one that, despite her strange appearance, was warm and sincere. "Thank you, human. I will explain. But I am very tired. I only need to clean up, then I will tell you everything." Without another word, Zara walked past him, stepping into the small hallway of Alex's apartment. She seemed to move with a strange grace, almost like she was gliding. Alex couldn't help but watch her, his mind still spinning from the bizarre encounter. He shut the door behind her and led her to the bathroom. "Just in here. Towels are on the shelf." Zara nodded, her eyes scanning the small space curiously as she stepped inside. "Thank you," she said again, but this time Alex noticed a slight tremor in her voice. Before she could close the door behind her, she hesitated. "I am sorry," she added quietly, her gaze avoiding his. "I didn't mean to cause you trouble." "No trouble," Alex reassured her, trying to be as kind as possible. "Just take your time. I'll be right outside if you need anything." The door clicked shut, and Alex, still feeling bewildered, walked back into the living room. He sat back down on his couch, running a hand through his hair. He couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. Was this some kind of weird scam? Could it be a setup for something? Was she even human? She didn't look human, but she spoke like one. What is going on? Alex picked up his phone and Googled extraterrestrial life on Earth. Nothing unusual popped up aside from conspiracy theory blogs and sci-fi fan forums. He sighed and leaned back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. He'd lived through weird experiences before, but this was different. Suddenly, the bathroom door opened with a soft creak. Zara stepped out, looking different now. She had taken the time to clean herself up, and the sticky substance had been washed away. She had changed into one of Alex's old t-shirts, though it hung loosely on her small frame. She still looked out of place, but less desperate. She glanced at him and smiled again, though this time with a little more confidence. "Thank you," she said, her accent still thick, but her voice a bit steadier. "I feel much better." Alex nodded, still unsure of what to say. "Ah, you're welcome. I guess—" She took a step closer, looking at him intently. "I'm sorry I didn't explain earlier. I'm not from here. My ship crashed. Far from Earth. I was just looking for help." Alex raised an eyebrow. "You're an alien?" Zara blinked, confused. "Alien. Oh yes. That's what you call us. I am not from your world." Now it was Alex's turn to blink. He wasn't sure how to react. "Okay, so an actual alien." "Yes, an alien." She tilted her head slightly. "You are not frightened?" Alex hesitated. "I should be, right? I mean, you're an alien." Zara smiled again, though it was a little sad. "Perhaps, but I have never met a human like you before." Alex scratched his head, still feeling a little dizzy from the whole situation. "So, ... why are you here? What happened to your ship?" Zara's smile faded, and for a moment her eyes seemed far away. "I was part of a peaceful mission. We came to observe your planet, to learn. But something went wrong. Our ship was attacked, and now I am stranded, alone." Alex listened intently as Zara continued to explain. She told him about her mission to observe Earth and the peaceful people she came from. But she also shared the darker side of her tale. A dangerous force, she said, was after her and her people. Zara's mission wasn't just about observing humanity. It was about protecting Earth from the dangers of the galaxy. But Alex wasn't quite ready to believe all of it. After all, how could he? This was just too much to take in. But before he could voice his thoughts, Zara suddenly stepped back, her eyes wide with fear. "There is something I must do. I have to contact my people before it's too late," she said urgently, her tone filled with a sense of dread. Alex looked at her, his heart racing. Whatever was happening, he had a feeling things were about to get a lot more complicated. Alex watched as Zara sat down on the couch, now looking cleaner and more relaxed after her shower. Her unusual glowing blue skin still stood out, but she seemed less distressed now. She had told him about her mission, but there was still so much more Alex didn't understand. "Thank you again, human," Zara said, her voice more calm than before. She looked around the small apartment, her gaze moving from the TV to the bookshelf, taking in every little detail. It was obvious she was curious about everything, and that curiosity made Alex both nervous and intrigued. "No problem," Alex replied, trying to act casual, though his mind was racing. An actual alien had just walked into his apartment, and now he was talking to her like it was just another Wednesday night. "So, you said you came to Earth to observe us, right?" Zara nodded, her large eyes focused on him. "Yes, but our mission. It was more than just observation. My people, we came here to protect your world. We have watched Earth for centuries, always in the background. We never interfered with your growth, your wars, your politics. We believed in your potential to reach the stars on your own." She paused, then added quietly, "But we miscalculated. There are dangers in the galaxy, dangers you don't yet understand." Alex frowned, feeling a sudden unease creep up his spine. "What kind of dangers? I mean, what do you mean protect us from?" Zara's expression darkened, and for the first time Alex saw something like fear flicker in her eyes. "The Drax," she whispered, almost as if speaking the name aloud would make them real. They are a powerful empire, ruthless and cruel. They conquer worlds, enslave entire civilizations, and they are coming for Earth. Alex blinked. He had heard of aliens in stories and movies, but this sounded like something out of a nightmare. Wait, the Dracs? Are you saying they're already here? Is that why your ship crashed? Zara looked away, her eyes lost in thought. Yes, they attacked us. We were caught off guard. My crew, they didn't survive. I was the only one who managed to escape. But now I'm stranded here on your world, with no way to contact my people. Alex sat back, trying to digest what he was hearing. An alien race, an empire of conquerors, coming to Earth? It felt impossible. Yet, the way Zara spoke, how she acted seemed sincere. She wasn't acting like someone making up a story. She sounded like she believed every word. So, what do you want from me? Alex asked, rubbing his temples. He was trying to make sense of it all. I mean, I don't have any spaceship tech or anything like that. You're asking me to help you with? What, exactly? Zara's eyes met his, her voice soft yet urgent. I need to contact my people. If I don't warn them, Earth will be unprepared. The Dracs are already close. They have technology far beyond what your people possess. But I can't do it alone. I need your help, human. Alex raised an eyebrow. My help? With what exactly? What do I know about alien technology? Zara nodded slowly, as if expecting this reaction. I understand you have no experience with such things. But you have something that might work. She paused and looked down at her hands. You have ingenuity. That's what humans have. You make things work even when you don't have the tools. You figure things out in ways no other species does. Alex blinked, feeling a strange warmth at her words. He wasn't used to hearing such praise, especially from someone from something like her. Okay, he said, still unsure of what she meant. So, you think I can help fix your communicator, right? Zara nodded eagerly. Yes, exactly. If we can get it working, I can send a signal to my people. They will come, and we can fight back against the Dracs. But if we fail, the Dracs will arrive, and Earth won't stand a chance. Alex wasn't sure he fully understood what she was saying. But he did know one thing: he couldn't just ignore her. If there was even a chance that what she was saying was true, Earth could be in real danger. And if she was right, the only way to stop it might be to help her. All right, Alex said after a long pause, trying to swallow his nervousness. Let's see what we can do. Zara smiled again, though her smile seemed tired. She stood up, reaching into the small bag she carried with her. Thank you, human. I know this is asking a lot, but I promise you won't regret it. Alex watched as Zara pulled out a strange device, unlike anything he had ever seen. It was a small, metallic cube with intricate carvings all over it. The surface of the cube seemed to shimmer slightly, as though it was alive, constantly changing. She placed it on the table in front of him, her fingers hovering over it. This is the communicator. It was damaged during the attack. I don't know how to fix it. I've tried, but nothing works. I was hoping you might be able to help. Alex leaned over the table, inspecting the device. It was definitely unlike anything he had ever seen. It was clear that this wasn't something you could just plug into an electrical socket and hope it worked. But there was something fascinating about it, something that made Alex want to try. He wasn't a genius, but he had a knack for fixing things, for figuring out how stuff worked even when it seemed impossible. All right, let's give it a shot, Alex said, feeling a spark of determination. I'll take a look. He reached out, gingerly touching the cube. As soon as his fingers made contact with the surface, the carvings on the cube shifted, like the device was reacting to his touch. The surface of the cube glowed faintly, and a soft hum filled the room. Alex's heart skipped a beat. He had no idea what was going on, but he couldn't back out now.
How do I?
He asked, turning to Zara for guidance. Zara watched him closely, her eyes wide with hope. Just try to access the controls. The device should respond to your thoughts. You don't need to touch it much. Just think about fixing it. Alex blinked. Think about fixing it? That sounded ridiculous, but he wasn't in a position to argue. He decided to give it a try, closing his eyes for a moment and focusing on the cube. He thought about how he would fix a broken gadget, how he'd take things apart and find the problem. He thought about what it might need. Wires, signals, power. To his surprise, the cube responded. A small holographic screen appeared above it, displaying a mess of alien symbols that Alex couldn't understand. But as he focused more, he felt a slight tingling sensation in his fingers. It was as if the device was reacting to his thoughts. Trying to communicate with him in a way he couldn't quite explain, suddenly the symbols on the screen shifted. A few of them aligned and the cube hummed louder. Alex felt a rush of excitement. He had done something. He wasn't sure how, but it was working. "I think I did it," Alex said, his voice a little shaky. Zara's eyes lit up. "You did? You actually did it." "I didn't think you could." Alex grinned, though his nerves were still on edge. "I guess I'm better at this stuff than I thought." The screen on the communicator flickered, and a new set of symbols appeared. This time, they were different, clearer, like a message was being transmitted. Alex leaned closer, reading the symbols. And then, without warning, the screen flashed red. Zhara gasped, stepping back. "No, this can't be happening." Alex's heart raced. The cube was flashing in an alarming way, and the symbols on the screen were shifting too quickly for him to follow. "What's going on?" Alex asked, looking at Zara in confusion. She was staring at the screen, her face pale. "The Dracs. They've detected the signal. They're coming sooner than I thought." Alex's stomach twisted. This was just getting real. Alex's fingers hovered over the glowing cube as the symbols on the screen continued to flash. He could feel a sense of urgency building up in his chest. The peaceful atmosphere of his apartment seemed to have vanished, replaced by a tension he didn't fully understand. Something had just changed. Something big. Zara, who had been standing behind him, her eyes wide with alarm, spoke in a hushed voice. "This is bad, Alex. The Dracs, they can track the signal. They know we're here now." Alex turned to look at her, his brow furrowed. "What do you mean? Didn't you say you wanted to contact your people? Isn't that the whole point?" She nodded, but there was a shadow of fear in her eyes. "Yes, but the Dracs. They'll intercept the signal. It's how they hunt down civilizations. They'll know exactly where we are, and they'll come for us." Alex swallowed hard. He had been hoping for a breakthrough, a sign that they were getting closer to stopping this alien threat. But instead the situation had taken a dangerous turn. "So what do we do now?" he asked, feeling a lump form in his throat. Zara shook her head, her face pale. "I don't know. The communicator is working, but it's not designed for this. It's too weak, too easily detectable. If we keep it on, the Dracs will find a sand. They'll send everything they have." Alex stood up, trying to think through the problem. His mind was racing, but he couldn't come up with a solution. He wasn't a scientist or an engineer, and he definitely wasn't an alien expert. All he had was a working communicator, some basic knowledge of tech, and a sense of responsibility that he couldn't shake off. "We need to buy more time," Alex said, his voice steady, despite the panic brewing inside him. "How can we block the signal? Is there any way to make it harder for them to track us?" Zara took a deep breath, clearly thinking. She paced around the room, her eyes darting back to the communicator on the table, then to Alex. "We could try to scramble the signal," she said slowly, "but it would only work for a short time. The Dracs are advanced. They can adapt quickly. We need something more, ... permanent." Alex frowned, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on him. The thought of facing the Dracs, whatever they were, terrified him. But Zara seemed so calm, so determined. There was something about the way she held herself that made Alex want to trust her, despite the craziness of everything that was happening. "All right," Alex said after a moment, his voice more confident. "Let's try the scramble." "It's better than nothing," Zara nodded. "Yes, we can try that first. But we'll need to find a place where they won't be able to track us easily. Somewhere with a lot of interference." Alex thought about it. His apartment was small and quiet, and the walls were thin. He doubted it could hide them from an alien force. Then it hit him a place nearby that could provide the perfect cover. "The old abandoned warehouse," he said, pointing to the window. It's on the edge of town. No one ever goes there, and it's full of old equipment. It might work. Zara's eyes widened, and she gave him a curious look. You think that will work? Alex didn't know, but it was the best option he could think of. It's the best chance we've got. The two of them gathered their things quickly. Zara took the communicator and slipped it into her bag, her movements quick but precise. Alex grabbed his jacket and locked up the apartment. The urgency of the situation had pushed everything else out of his mind. They were no longer dealing with an ordinary situation. This was real. The Dracs were coming, and time was running out. As they stepped out onto the quiet street, Alex's heart pounded in his chest. He glanced at Zara, who was walking beside him, her expression focused but calm. Despite everything, she seemed to have a quiet strength that Alex couldn't help but admire. He wasn't sure if she truly believed they had a chance, but she wasn't giving up, and neither would he. The walk to the warehouse didn't take long, but every step felt like a journey into the unknown. As they approached the old building, Alex could hear the distant hum of machinery and the occasional clank of metal from inside. The warehouse looked like something out of a horror movie, dark, abandoned and full of shadows. But it had a certain aura of safety to it, as if its isolation could offer them the protection they needed inside. The place was dimly lit, with old machinery and discarded boxes scattered around. The air was thick with dust, and the floors creaked under their weight. It wasn't the most comforting place to be, but Alex knew it would have to do. All right, Alex said, trying to shake off the unease settling in his chest. We'll set up here. You said we need to scramble the signal, right? Let's figure that out. Zara nodded, already scanning the space around them. We'll need to connect the communicator to something with more power, she explained. Something that can create interference. Something that will mask the signal long enough for us to get a message out. Alex wasn't exactly sure how any of this worked, but he trusted Zara's knowledge. He followed her as she moved toward a stack of old equipment in the corner of the room. It looked like a mix of old computers, wires, and strange, outdated tech. As Zara rummaged through the pile, Alex couldn't help but wonder how she knew about all of this. It was as if she had been here before, like she was a regular on Earth. You've been here before, haven't you? Alex asked, curious. Zara glanced up, her eyes narrowing slightly. I've studied Earth's technology, she said quietly. We observe everything, especially when it comes to your communication systems. Earth's technology is primitive, but it can still be useful in certain situations. Alex was about to ask more, but Zara interrupted him, holding up a small device in her hand. It was a small metal box with a single glowing button on top. This should work, she said. It's a signal jammer. It'll create enough interference to hide the communicator's location for a while. Alex raised an eyebrow. That sounds simple enough. It's not perfect, Zara admitted, placing the jammer on the floor next to the communicator. But it'll buy us some time. It will scramble the signal long enough for me to send a distress call to my people. With a deep breath, Zara connected the communicator to the jammer and pressed the button. For a moment, nothing happened. Alex stood frozen, watching her with bated breath. Then, the screen on the communicator flickered to life again, this time displaying a series of strange symbols. The symbols changed, forming into a message that Alex could barely understand. Zara watched the screen carefully, her eyes scanning the symbols with concentration. Then, a flicker of hope passed across her face. It's working, she said softly, almost as if to herself. I'm getting through. Alex felt a strange mix of relief and nervousness. Do you think it will be enough? Will your people get the message in time? Zara didn't look up from the screen, but her fingers moved quickly across the controls. I can't say for certain. The Dracs will be hunting us, but if my people receive the signal, they'll come. They won't let Earth fall without a fight. For the first time, Alex felt like there was a real chance, an actual chance, to stop the alien invaders. It wasn't much, but it was something. It was a start. All right, Alex said, his voice steady. Let's get that message out. Let's make sure they know Earth's ready to fight. The air in the warehouse felt heavier now, charged with a sense of urgency. Zara's hands flew over the communicator's controls as the device continued to send out scrambled signals. Alex watched her, his nerves running high as he tried to make sense of everything that was happening. They had sent the message, but would it be enough? Could they really stop the Dracs, whoever they were, from invading Earth? Zara's focus remained on the screen in front of her. Her fingers moved with precision, navigating through the strange symbols and messages that Alex could barely understand. The small device hummed with life as the signal continued to pulse. But there was a constant flickering, like it was struggling to break through some kind of barrier. Zara's brow furrowed in concentration, her blue skin glowing faintly in the dim light of the warehouse. Alex couldn't stand the silence anymore. He had to know what was going on. "Is it working?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. But he could hear the edge of panic creeping in. Zara's eyes flicked up to meet his for a moment, and she nodded. "It's working, but not as well as I hoped. The Dracs have advanced systems that can track almost anything. It's only a matter of time before they find us. I've sent a distress call to my people, but I can't guarantee that it will reach them in time." Alex's stomach twisted at her words. Every moment felt like a countdown. He wanted to help, but all he had was a tiny glowing communicator and a warehouse full of old junk. The situation felt hopeless, but deep down, he knew they couldn't give up now. "How much time do we have?" Alex asked, trying to keep his mind clear. But the weight of the question hung in the air like a dark cloud. Zara's eyes narrowed as she studied the communicator. "Maybe a few hours at best. The Drax fleet is fast. If they're already near Earth's orbit, they'll arrive soon. Once they do, it won't matter how much we scramble the signal. They'll tear through the atmosphere like it's nothing." Alex turned away, trying to process the gravity of the situation. His mind raced. A few hours. That wasn't enough time. Earth wasn't ready for a war with aliens. Humanity wasn't ready for an invasion from an advanced force like the Drax. "What do we do now?" Alex asked, trying to push aside the fear gnawing at him. He couldn't let panic control him. There had to be something else they could do. Something more. Zara hesitated, then turned to him, her voice low but firm. We wait, and we hope that my people get the message. But you're right about one thing: we need to prepare. Even if we can't stop the Drax from arriving, we need to make sure humanity is ready to defend itself. It's not just my world at stake anymore. It's yours too." Alex's heart skipped a beat. Earth. She was right. They couldn't just sit back and wait for the Drax to come crashing down on them. They had to act. They had to prepare. "How do we start?" Alex asked, his voice filled with determination. If they were going to face an alien army, they needed every advantage they could get. They didn't have time to waste. Zara stood up from the communicator, her eyes scanning the warehouse. She walked over to one of the old, broken machines in the corner, inspecting it carefully. "We'll need to make use of what we have here," she said, her voice calm despite the chaos unfolding around them. "Your people humans have an incredible ability to improvise. I've seen it. We'll take the old technology in this warehouse and combine it with the communicator. We'll create a system that can warn Earth's leaders and make it harder for the Drax to track us." Alex watched her, impressed by how calm she was, how she seemed to know exactly what to do. "Okay," he said, feeling a spark of hope. "Let's do it." For the next hour, they worked together in a strange, quiet rhythm. Zara directed Alex on how to connect old wires, machines, and equipment from the warehouse to the communicator, creating a makeshift system that could amplify the signal. Alex wasn't a genius when it came to technology, but he was resourceful. As they worked, he found himself learning from Zara. She looked at the world differently. How she understood the things humans took for granted in ways that made it all seem so much simpler. Finally, after what felt like hours, the makeshift system was ready. Zara stood back, examining their work. "This should work," she said, her voice filled with cautious optimism. "We've combined the communicator's signal with these devices to create a stronger transmission. It won't be perfect, but it should be enough to reach Earth's leaders." Alex took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "All right, let's do it." Zara stepped forward and activated the system. The communicator hummed, the screen lighting up with a flurry of symbols. A low buzz filled the room as the signal amplified, sending out a powerful burst that could reach the farthest corners of Earth. The makeshift system was alive, transmitting their message to every corner of the globe. For a moment, nothing happened. Alex held his breath, waiting for anything that would show the message was getting through. The seconds stretched on like hours, and just when he thought the system had failed, the screen flickered and a new symbol appeared. Zara's eyes widened as she stared at the screen. "It's working!" she exclaimed, her voice filled with relief. "The signal is reaching Earth. They're getting the message." Alex felt a wave of hope wash over him. It was working. They had done it. They had sent the warning, but Zara's expression quickly changed. The look of relief faded, replaced by something else, something darker. "But it's not enough," she said, her voice tense. "The Dracs are still coming. The message will reach Earth's leaders, but they don't have enough time to organize a defense. We need to help them, to buy more time." Alex's heart pounded in his chest. "What can we do? How can we help?" Zara stood up, her eyes filled with determination. "We have to prepare Earth for what's coming. We can't defeat the Dracs alone, but humans, you have a strength that they can't ignore. You can fight back." "You've done it before." Alex didn't know what to say. He wasn't a soldier. He was just a college student, caught in a situation that felt beyond his control. But Zara was right. Humans had fought wars, survived against impossible odds, and rebuilt from destruction. He wasn't the only one in the world. Earth was filled with people, and if they worked together, they could stand a chance. "I don't know where to start," Alex said, feeling overwhelmed. "What do we do?" Zara walked up to him and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're doing it, Alex. The message has been sent. Now, you have to help others understand. You have to make sure that humanity knows what's coming. Tell them." Alex took a deep breath, the weight of the responsibility heavy on his shoulders. He knew Zara was right. The world had to know. And if he could help, he would. "We'll do it," Alex said, his voice strong. "We'll get the word out. We'll warn everyone. It's not too late." Zara gave him a nod of approval. "You're ready." Alex turned to look at the communicator one last time, his heart pounding. The Dracs were coming, but they weren't going to find Earth defenseless. Not if Alex could help it. He would do everything in his power to make sure humanity stood a fighting chance. The warehouse was quiet now. The hum of the makeshift communicator and the occasional rustle of wind outside, the only sounds filling the air. Alex stood in front of the blinking device, his heart racing as he watched Zara prepare the next step in their plan. They had sent the message out. They had scrambled the signal to confuse the Dracs. But the real fight was just beginning. "We need to make sure the leaders of Earth understand what's coming," Zara said, her voice steady despite the fear that was obvious in her eyes. "The Dracs are coming to destroy your world. They won't stop until they have what they want. But you, humans, you have a strength that they can't even comprehend." Alex nodded, still trying to wrap his mind around everything. "I get it. But how do we prepare Earth? How do we make sure the whole world knows what's coming in time?" Zara looked at him with a serious expression. "Humans have always been good at organizing. I know your people will find a way, but you must make sure they don't panic. The Dracs will try to attack without warning. You need to unite the world, warn the governments, and get people to cooperate." Alex swallowed, the enormity of the task starting to hit him. He wasn't a leader, he wasn't a military expert, and he definitely wasn't equipped to handle a planetary crisis. But Zara had trusted him to help save Earth, and somehow he couldn't let her or humanity dash down. Double quotes. "So, what's the first step?" Alex asked, trying to focus. He had to do anything to help. "We need to find a way to communicate with the world's leaders," Zara said. "We need to make sure they know the Dracs are coming, and that Earth has to be ready to fight back. If I can get the signal through, the world's major governments should receive it. But you'll need to help guide the message. You know your people better than I do." Alex nodded again, trying to clear his mind. He needed a plan. He needed to think fast. His first instinct was to turn to the internet, to social media. It wasn't much, but it was a way to spread a message quickly. Still, he knew that wasn't enough. It wouldn't be enough to just post a warning and hope someone would listen. I'll contact the news stations, Alex said, a sudden idea forming. I know a few reporters who might be able to get the word out. I'll help spread the message as far as it will go, but we need to make sure we're speaking to the right people. The military, the leaders of nations, those are the ones who need to act quickly. Zara's eyes lit up. That's a good plan. If we can get to the media and key people in power, we might just have a chance. Humans are resilient. They may not have the technology to fight the Dracs yet, but you have something they don't. The will to survive. Alex took a deep breath. There was no time to waste. He grabbed his phone and started dialing, quickly making a list of people he knew who could help. As he spoke to contacts, explaining the situation, he felt a strange sense of urgency. There was no room for doubt now. The Dracs were on their way. The only option was to make sure Earth stood together, or it would be torn apart. Hours passed as Alex worked tirelessly, making calls, sending messages, and spreading the word. The media picked up the story quickly. What started as a small warning soon became a global alert. News channels flashed, breaking news, governments began to issue statements. And people across the world started preparing for the unknown. Alex sat down at the old desk in the warehouse, his eyes glued to his phone as the updates rolled in. The messages and alerts flooded his screen, but it wasn't enough. The Dracs were still coming, and they were close. Earth didn't have much time to organize. But at least the world was starting to pay attention. He looked over at Zara, who was monitoring the communication equipment. She seemed focused, but there was a hint of worry in her eyes. "It's working," Alex said, trying to reassure her. "The world is starting to listen. People are preparing. We're making progress." Zara nodded, but didn't say anything right away. She was scanning the screens, her mind clearly elsewhere. Finally, she spoke, her voice filled with concern. "It's not enough, Alex. Even if the message gets through, the Dracs are too powerful. They have weapons we can't even begin to understand. They won't just invade your planet, they will destroy it if they can. I don't think you realize how dangerous they are." Alex's heart sank as he listened to her words. The Dracs weren't just invaders, they were a force to be reckoned with. But they hadn't lost yet. Humans hadn't given up on their own survival. And Zara hadn't given up on humanity either. "We'll figure something out," Alex said, his voice firm. "Humans have faced impossible odds before, and we've won. We've survived wars, disasters, and more. We'll do it again." Zara studied him for a long moment, as if weighing his words. Finally, she nodded. "You're right. Humans will fight, but you have to understand something. The Dracs won't stop until they have your planet. They're not here for resources, they're here to conquer and destroy. And they won't be easy to beat." Alex clenched his fists, his mind racing. He had to help. He couldn't just sit back and wait. "What can we do? How can we fight back? Is there any way to slow them down?" Zara's expression softened, and she stood up, walking over to where Alex sat. "I've been thinking," she said, her voice thoughtful. "The Dracs are powerful, but they're also arrogant. They underestimate your people. They believe that humans are weak. But they're wrong. You have something they don't: unity. The Dracs may be able to destroy cities, but they can't destroy your spirit. If you stand together, you can fight back. You can surprise them, and that will make all the difference." Alex felt a surge of energy as he listened to Zara. She was right. Unity. That was the key. If humanity could come together, no matter how impossible it seemed, they could stand a chance. "All right," Alex said, standing up. "We'll do it. We'll unite. We'll fight back. We'll make sure humanity doesn't fall." Zara smiled, a small but proud smile. "I believe in you, Alex. You've shown me that humans have the strength to stand against even the greatest threats. You'll do whatever it takes to protect your world." As Alex turned back to the communicator, he felt a new sense of determination. He wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. He was fighting for the future of humanity. And with Zara by his side, he knew they had a real chance. The Dracs would learn the hard way that humanity wasn't something to be taken lightly. Alex reached for the communicator and sent a final message. This time, it wasn't just a warning. It was a call to arms, a declaration that Earth would not bow down to invaders. Earth would fight, and it would win. As Alex and Zara waited for the response, the tension in the air was palpable. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, but Alex felt more certain than ever that humanity's resilience would carry them through. The Dracs were coming, but Earth was ready. And no matter how powerful the invaders were, they would never be able to defeat the strength of the human spirit.